Bernie suggested that I do a workshop that was being run by an organisation called the Australian Institute of Human Relations. It was called a sensitivity training workshop. I think he was trying to give me a message. But I did that workshop. It was just after I had returned from getting married. I had been a young physicist and mathematician, and I soon discovered that, in fact, people were far more interesting than side rules. And so I went back to school and did degrees in psychology, education, and management. So, in no small way, I look back on my career, which has been blessed, and my life, which has been blessed, and see that time when I met Bernie as being a pivotal moment where I could have taken one path. In fact, I was on one path, and then I took another. And it has been a blessing. So thank you, Bernie. If we fast forward, that was 69, 70. If we fast forward to the 90s, the late 90s, I remember walking into his office one day and at La Trobe University, and he said to me, "I've just finished a paper about you." And that was his introduction. And it's I was curious, and I said, "What's it about?" He said, "It's about the Greek god Hermes," and so that led very quickly to my interest in archetypal psychology, and we joined forces, and over 10 years, we struggled and worked through and created a book together. And in 2008, I think it was, we finally got it published in Melbourne and then in London. And it's amazing how it still sells to this day. And so that started my interest in archetypal psychology. And I now use it as the basis of so much of my work with corporate cultures around the world. And the other day, talking with Bernie on FaceTime, I managed to thank him for the last 50 years. And I say, thank you again, Bernie. And I will celebrate you as long as I have life and joy. So, and joy, irony, perspective, and skepticism that I have, I attribute to you, my friend. And yes.
For all of the experiences that we have had together, because we certainly have had some, Tim, you know, we've had so many great times together around the world. You're such a dear friend, and such a great mentor to me for many years. I believe we met in the mid 90s or late 90s, and we've been like this ever since. And I love you dearly, Tim. And you're the greatest connector on the planet of people. Everybody knows Tim. There's hardly ever a time that somebody mentions somebody's name and Tim doesn't know of them or is not connected to them, Tim. And you're just amazing. And so you connect up all these people. I know this is your 72nd birthday, and I'm just 2 years behind you, and 8 days behind you as well. My birthday's on August 15th, and I'll be 70. So I guess the last thing I want to say to you, unless there's some specific questions, is that you have been phenomenal in keeping track and supporting me over the last couple of years through my illness. And I mean, I know you connect every week just to see how I'm doing, and you share stories, and we talk about work situations when I have the energy, because I enjoy that. And I'm so appreciative of our friendship. I'm so blessed. I don't think anybody could ever have a better friendship on the planet. And I just want you to know that. I hope that your birthday is an amazing celebration. I know this video of people from around the world probably is just up your alley, will really cheer you up and brighten your day. And so take care. Bye now.
Hello, Tim. Well, I'm up here in Northern California, which I think you visited a lot. I'm up near Beale Air Force Base and Shasta Buttes. I'm back in the orchard and growing areas back here, and had a client in here that I'm meeting with earlier, which you would have fun with. Anyway, Mushkan was talking with me about that this part of us chatting together is something that I remember and want to bring out and talk to you about the importance for me of who you are and who you are in my life. And, we didn't know each other for all that length of time, but I feel like we've known each other intimately for a long time. It's like you've shared with me who you are and vice versa. And we've had some great conversations with the group and all. But I'll tell you, one of the things that sticks out to me are two sets of conversations. One, when you and I were talking to that global scientist that we were working with, and then afterwards, when you warned me about what you read in that exchange and what to look out for. And it bore out to be quite accurate. Your insights were immensely refined. The second was when you came to visit in Sacramento, and you guys and Maggie and I all got together at a restaurant, and we had drinks and chatted, and the evening just kind of flew away in terms of being so engaged with this live Tim sitting in front of me, who is the most loving and sensitive, engaging guy I could ever want to know. And so, you and I have talked about doing a bunch of things, not the least of which are some big industrial connections and bringing deals to the table and all, which I would look forward to us doing. But it was the guy that I met in all of that, the guy that was so straightforward, so honest, and so approachable, that you're just a rare breed, my friend. There aren't a whole lot of you, and not in my life. And I just love you a lot. Can't tell you. It's just it's really a discovery to find how much I value our connection and how much I just love you. You're just one standout human being. So the backdrop, hopefully, adds depth to that statement, because up here, when I'm up here, I feel like I am free of a lot of normal encumbrances. There's a lot of space around me up here and a lot of discussions that don't happen in cities. And you are in that category for me. We have discussions that don't happen in crowds or in the confines of sociableness. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate it about you, the depth and the humanity and the authenticity that you bring. So that's it, my friend. It's just one big, endless pleasure for me to know you. And I want to thank you for what you've brought into my life in terms of that authenticity, depth, and honesty. So, yeah, would like to have you here. We'll walk around some fields together, and then we'll go over to the casino and gamble. What do you think?
Hi, Tim. This is Ian. I'm just so thrilled to be able to contribute to this wonderful gift that Moshgan is arranging, to say hello and to wish you well in your next stage of whatever is going to unfold. And funnily enough, I woke up this morning here in Launceston. We have a 6:35 competition every morning between Virgin and Qantas when they have a flight that leaves from Launceston to go to Melbourne, and it flies right over our house and wakes me up. And the thought that I had this morning was, I hope that they are hightailing it to Melbourne as well as Tim is hightailing it back to good health. I just am reminded, as I was thinking about hightailing it, about it when we were in doing all that work in the sugar industry now, almost 20 years ago, perhaps a bit more, when we used to run those leadership programs in air, remember that? And we'd get to the end of the program after 2 or 3 days, and we knew that if we didn't get ourselves into the car very quickly and hightail it from air up to Townsville, we'd miss the 4:40 flight back to Brisbane. So just as those planes are hightailing it to wherever they're going, I'm really trusting that you're hightailing it back to health as well. I just really want to say, Tim, how much your friendship means to me. It just astounds me, really, that not a week goes by when I'm not thinking of you, particularly on this journey that you're on at the moment, but also when I get to use one or other of the wonderful skills that you've imparted to me over the years in me helping other people. So I really am looking forward to you continuing your journey to good health and hoping that we can do some really good things together again quite soon. Whether or not that comes with prayers or hopes or good wishes or vibes or whatever you want to call it, I'm thinking of you constantly and really just hoping that the next few days and weeks and months unfold well for you. All the best, Tim.
Hi, Tim. I've been thinking a lot about you over the last few days since we spoke, about nearly 10 days ago, I suppose. Tim, I'll always remember first meeting you when we were taking over Australia's new Parliament House in the mid-80s, mid-1980s. And you came down to help us shift the culture of the staff from the old Parliament House into the new Parliament House, with all of the new technology that I was introducing into that building to make it more modern. As you know, when I took over the building, it was 30 years old and it had a whole lot of old technology. So I had a lot of work to do to change it, introducing computer systems and so on. And you, Tim, were amazing the way you helped get the staff to understand the cultural shift that they needed to live with in the new building. And it worked really amazingly, because in the end, we got all of the technical staff and the people running all of the systems in the building to grasp the computer systems easily, to work with them. And we changed the culture over from just a reactionary culture to a planned and proper maintenance system and a proper energy efficiency system And it was so good, Tim, that we actually achieved a 40% reduction in the energy consumption of that building within the first full year of operation. And you, Tim, the way you handled the staff and helped them adjust to the new systems was amazing. So ever since then, I've had the greatest admiration for your skills, Tim. And now, since then, we have remained close, although we did have about 10 or 15 years when we hardly saw each other, and that was from the 80s into the early 2000s. And I think we ran into each other at an Engineers Australia conference when I was chair of the College of Environmental Engineers. And we met in Adelaide, you might recall. And we connected then and relived some of the thoughts from the New Parliament House experience. And it was since then, 25 years nearly, that we have remained close. And you've been an amazing personal support for me through some crises that you know about. And I hope that I've been sort of helpful to you in some of the things that we've been trying to do in addressing climate change, as you know, and the existential threats that we face, that the planet faces. So I'm just so sad, Tim, that you're not terribly well at the moment, and I hope that things start to look up for you.
Tim, I wanted to share with you my comments about what you have meant not only to me, but to the organization I worked for. And, you know, maybe more importantly, my family. I would have met you, back in the late 1990s. And that time the company was undergoing through some changes, and those changes became bigger and bigger as we were in the steel industry, and our organization changed hands many times and actually changed countries that owned the business. And during that time, you were instrumental in helping us navigate our way through and creating a culture for our organization. You helped us create business plans and strategy, but more importantly, you helped us develop core values and an organization of people that were able to discuss those and co-create them. And when you first came, I was a division manager, and later my job changed and became bigger and bigger. And you were always there for me when that was happening. Years later, you tried to call me, and I actually think you called my wife. And this would have been back in 2018. And you called my wife and told her about a job in Australia that you thought I should take. And what did she think? And Randy, my wife, said, "Well, Tim, I'm packing my bags right now." For that, I guess I'll forgive you for calling her and not calling me. So I moved to Australia, and it's at that point in time that I was able to spend more and more time with you. And what I can tell you is that you were incredibly supportive, and in many ways you worked me into the ground. Your energy was always there, and it was always inspiring to me, and you assisted me along the way. So I'm indebted to you for that. Last week you called me along with Jill, and you called me and we were able to connect. And when I hung up that after that call, I thought, I wish I could have said a few more things to you.
Hi, Tim. Paul and Sal here.
Hi, Tim.
So, Tim, I just got the opportunity to leave a message by Moshkan, and what a fabulous opportunity to have a quick chat to you in this crazy computer medium. I remember, Tim, meeting you, and I've often talked with this, haven't I, of meeting Tim about 50 years ago as my teacher. The first class of the day was you teaching us, I think, chemistry. and you were sitting there at the front of the classroom, sort of leaning over, reading a book, making notes, smoking a big pipe, big beard. We're all a bit shocked. And we very soon warmed to you, Tim. I remember you telling us to, you know, buy into this. You said something along the lines of, I'm here to teach you, and if you carry on like that, I can't teach you. So if you quieten down, you're going to get through your exams and do whatever you want to do and learn stuff. And if you don't, well, I could just do my work here. I'm doing a PhD, I'll carry on. And we all shut up and listened. And boy, you got the respect of that class. And you taught us fabulously. I think we all passed with flying colours, including me, surprisingly enough. And Tim, not only as a teacher were you so good, but also you invited some of us into your home, you welcomed us to meet Alex, who we all fell in love with very quickly. Gorgeous Alex. and
that's why I used to babysit the kids.
Yes, yeah, me and Paul Downey. We used to find each other the opportunity to have dinner at your place and catch up with Alex. She was so gorgeous. And then when you had Mike, and then you had, who I'm still friendly with now, of course, and Jackie and Kathy, I remember them turning up into the world. And then Lisa, yeah, gorgeous Lisa. And how amazing, and now they've got kids as well, their grandkids.
And we very much enjoy the regular sort of photo update when you pop in
Oh,
our
yes.
house.
Yeah, so does Pete. He loves it. Pete particularly loves it when you come and you open up your computer and there's all these pictures, and he sort of goes, Tim. And he quite often says, how's Tim? When I get home from work, I go, I haven't said it's about Pete. But that's the other thing which we love about you, Tim, is the way you just sort of kind of turn up out of the blue. We've no idea you're coming. And as you know, there's always a place for you here in our hearts and in our home. And I know that that was the case when I was a kid. And when things were a bit tough, there was always a place for us with you. You went to where did you go? Brisbane. You went to Brisbane and disappeared, but never disappeared out of our lives. Kept coming, kept saying hello, kept connections. And Tim, I always remember you turning up when Sal and I got married and being our MC, which was fabulous, and managing the various frictions and the various arrangements and a lovely wedding. And then I remember when Pete was in hospital in Melbourne, and we were, I think, relatively stressed. I wasn't stressed at all, wasn't I, Carly? And Tim turns up, just pops around the corner, the last person in the world we expect to see in Melbourne. And I think Pete was in having his operation. He turned up and just cheered us up and kept us going, which was great, as usual, at the perfect time. And that was great, wasn't it? Seeing Tim. And it's sort of, I don't know, just created a sense of safety, yeah. And I suppose the other thing which we remember so well is that great, I don't know, that great sort of sense of protection and well-being. So Tim, thanks for your wonderful friendship over such a long time. And we hope it'll continue for quite a while yet.
Hi, Tim. It's Debs. I don't know how to thank you for allowing me to come into your inner circle, to be a part of your lives for so many weeks on Saturday nights. And you've meant a lot to me. And when I've had issues or questions, it seems like every single time that week, something would come across into my email that would brighten my day and solve various issues. I really care. Love you, buddy. Take care.
Hi, Tim. It's Philip. Tim, we've actually been friends for a long, long time. We actually met originally over 30 years ago, believe it or not. You live quite close to us, and you and Alex became very good friends with me and myself. We always enjoyed the company of yourself and your family, and we had a lot of great experiences with you and your children. Your children actually babysit our children when they're quite small, so we go a long way back. And so, Tim, we've always appreciated our friendship with yourself and Alex and your children, Michael, Lisa, Jackie and Kathy, and we really appreciated the effort that you and your children put into us and our children. You've always been really, really great friends to us. We've always had a strong, meaningful relationship. We spent a lot of time together at dinner parties and going out together. We had lots of deep conversations, a lot about politics. And so, and we really always appreciated that. And you've been a true and loyal friend, and you've been a great godfather to our son, David, who's now just about 30 years old. And he really appreciates the input you've put into him as well. We've had many parties together that usually ended with you and I drinking a lot of whiskey. It was always better at your place than my place because the quality of your whiskey was much better than mine. Apparently, Johnny Walker just didn't cut the mustard with you. You've always been supportive and generous, and we actually, as you remember, we actually lived with you for a few months when our children were very small, and we were between houses, and you offered your house to us, and that was very big of you. We really do appreciate that. You've always been very generous and supportive to us, and we really appreciate your friendship and the time that we've had together. Great. Thanks, Tim.
When I think of the range of emotions that I experience when I think of you, Timothy, the first one is really gratitude. You came to my aid initially when I left the security of academia and not knowing what to do in life, other than I have been doing a lot of work with elite athletes and performance. And you brought me into a totally different world, which actually fit quite well. First into the Antarctic Commission, which was wonderful, and then into Big Four organizations, etc. And from there, we've worked together for probably almost 40 years, I guess. The second emotion I feel is I love you, Tim. And you're such a big part of my life. And in recent times, I've been very honored to be your ersatz masseuse. And I would do anything for you. I'm so grateful to know you, Tim.
Hi, Tim. I've only really obviously gotten to know you through Michael, but I always have respected and thanked you for that I'm so much included as a person and not a spouse, that you see me, and that you I just love the way there's so much I've learnt from you. I love your curiosity in the world, your just great knowledge and wisdom, and I our dog also thinks highly of you here in the background, Tim. I just thank you for your generosity. That sense of inclusiveness that I have felt. I see you do that with so many people. I see the way that you bring people together. It's just been a delight for us over the last little while to spend some extra time with you. Not a delight for you being in hospital, and we know the pain and the angst and the issues that you've had. But even in that, you are our teacher by the way in which you are vigilant about your diagnoses and treatment, the way in which you are actively involved, the way in which you want to get to know everything that there is to do it, and the way in which you enable us to be party to this journey of yours. So there's so much about you that is just the most wonderful person in the world, Tim, and I'm so delighted that he got to know you, and therefore I did too. So thank you.
Tim, you have been an amazing friend to me. I know I've been through a few crises. You weren't there when we lost our son, when Laura and I lost our son, Cameron, on a motorbike accident. And I went through crises then. But then you were there when my wife was terminally ill with cancer, and I was her full-time carer in palliative situation for 3 years before she died. And I'll always remember the support that you gave me, the understanding of the crisis I was going through. And the day after she died, you came over to my place and spent 2 hours with our son Andrew and myself, just helping me come to grips with the dreadful thing I was facing then, the loss of my 50-year and 6 months partner. So I'll never forget that, Tim. Your friendship, the way you handled looking after Andrew and myself in our time of crisis was just amazing. And it's one of those wonderful things about you, Tim. You've got a way of making people understand the situation they're in and working to cope with the crises that you're facing. And I thank you so much for that, Tim. That is a wonderful memory that I will always hold dear to my heart.
Hello, Tim, or Timothy, as I sometimes call you. This is a time for me to reflect on our long friendship of more than 20 years. And we've worked together for 18. It's been a fabulous ride for me. I've learned so much from you. We've had the chance to talk about this from time to time. So probably nothing I'm going to say is a surprise or new to you, but just, you know, I remember meeting you for the first time. You were a big presence and a big man at that time. And very charismatic. You came up and introduced yourself to me. I actually knew a lot about you before I met you from friends of mine who were doing some training programs with you. And I was intrigued and have continued to be intrigued throughout our relationship. And I feel very privileged to have got to know you in ways that most people don't. There are many, many sides to you, as there are to me. And it has been truly amazing. You've made a big difference to my life. You've given me skills and ways of understanding and different perspectives on me and you and people and groups and especially people and how they work or don't work so well together. And I just feel, you know, getting to know you and then the opportunity and encouragement from you to take risks and do different things and then work with you and learn so much from you in about how organisations and groups and people work, and then how to help people through that. You taught me so much. And as we grew together and spent so much time working and travelling together, I think we developed a very good team as we work together. And both of us, I think, benefited from that partnership in so many different ways, in the way that we could just get on and make things work and make things happen and solve problems. I mean, I just look back on the last 20 years and think, how fortunate am I to have had such a warm and close and loving friendship with you, and partnership in work where we have helped make a difference to other people. And I'm just so grateful for having met you and had these last 20 years together, and hopefully some more time going forward, if not through work, through sharing some time. So that's all I'd say for now, Mushkan.
Hi, Tim. Glad I get a chance to talk to you a little bit. I've been looking forward to this. It's been such a special opportunity to get to talk to you, however many miles apart we might be, on a sometimes weekly basis, although I have had some challenging moments to be able to do our weekly conversations. So I must say, though, that no matter what the distance in time has been between our calls, like a very good friend, and it's a very rare quality that you have, I always feel as though we just pick up where we left off. I don't see that too often in people and in relationships. It's a very special thing about you, that you've always made me feel comfortable. And even when I was the new kid on the block, you were really good at including me and asking about my perspectives on things and my take on things. And that's a special quality that I think you have. And I for one hope that there will be a way that we can actually meet in person. So after these 2 or 3 years, we've only been able to take advantage of the wonders of Zoom, but we have not yet physically met. So I don't rule that out. I'm going to try to come down your way. My wife and I have talked about wanting to do that, kind of a trip forever. So I do hope that we'll be able to connect and just build on what we've begun.
Namaste, beautiful Tim, dear friend, or Sawubona from South Africa. And dear Tim, what an absolute joy. And just, I felt so humbled and heartwarmed. Just for a brief moment, I can witness back to you just the incredible light that you have shined in my life. And I know how in so many. And as you know, in South Africa, in Africa, the Tswana people have a saying, Ubuntu, which is I am a person through you, and I am because you are. And I just want to say that a lot of that is so true when I think of who you are to me. And going back all those many years, I was trying to actually recall if it was 2003, where I first met you, where you were working on a project with Mark Wellesley Wood at Johari Gold. And I got to meet who, little did I know then, who would be someone that I've always affectionately called my Aussie sage. But just in really slowing down, in meeting you, just your kindness, that deep sense of wisdom, the way you are always able to include. I think in those years, I was this young whippersnapper, and you took me under your wing. And so much of what I've learned over the years has been through you. And from the early years of working with you, I think we ran our process together where you were the wisdom, and the real orchestra conductor behind the scenes. And I was the facilitator, really just following your guide and your wisdom and your instruction in that workshop we ran in Singapore. You're a creator of tribe, a creator of clan, a creator of community, always with lightness and a sense of irreverence. So I call you my sage because I often think of you as a magician with your sparkly blue eyes. And as you've got older, just that white graying hair. What I cherish the most about you is your big, big heart. Just huge of heart and huge of spirit, and how you put your shoulders back and always laugh with that friendly chuckle. And no matter where we are, you always somehow have a moment to take your phone out and take a photo, capturing images and just seeing perspectives, the observer that you are of the world, that sees things in ways that others don't, it joins dots in ways that others don't. And just your love of your family, your love of your friends. And I'm really privileged to be included in that community of friends. And just at a level of when, the world feels one can be at sea. Somehow, you've always been a place of soft landing, belonging, place of learning, place of insights, just a place of deep connection. And so if I think of all of those things, I just think of what an extraordinary human you are. And above all, it's incredibly kind, with the biggest heart and such a generosity, is always there to reach out to help someone. And I just hope that you can lean into this and breathe in all these tributes about you, because you so often have been that presence for me. And I know how many people you've been that presence for. So it's such an honor just to be able to reflect back these little vignettes, dear friend. I hold you in a deep, deep heart embrace. And I love you and I cherish you. And I hold your spirit and your heart very, very close with me, all the way from Cape Town, South Africa, on this Sunday morning. Love you, Tim.
Hi, Tim. When I first met you over Zoom, I thought, well, okay, so here's a wicket I have to pass to get a job. And you rapidly cut right through any preconceived notion I might have had about being evaluated. And it just turned into an easy, casual conversation. And yet I knew it wasn't a casual conversation because you pulled stuff out that I thought, wow, how did he get that? And one of the things that really stuck with me from that very first conversation was you thought that I would be good in this leadership role at MCHC because I had suffered. I knew what suffering was. And you didn't spell it out, but I took from that therefore I really could, I didn't have to fake empathy, I'd get it. And I can relate to people, which is I think one of your great strengths. So you really went from an obstacle to someone I was deeply curious to know more about and to see what you could know more about me. Let's go with some other things that sent me off on little academic pursuits. I think one of my favorites was one of the ways that you disarmed me prior to teaching. You always like to inject a little humility in there, and you used a phrase that completely rocked me back on my heels in a business meeting. You said, well, I don't want to teach grandmothers to suck eggs. And boy, that wouldn't let go of me. And I remembered that. And so I went and I looked more into that. I wanted to tell you, not only did you get my attention and disarm me and let some important concepts get in that way, it anchored in my memory because I actually did suck eggs with my grandmother, because we would break the shells open, blow the egg out, and then paint them when I was a small child. So you unintentionally completely gave me a great cognitive anchor. And so I just thought, that's something I'm going to use again. And apparently it came into English in the early 1700s in a translation from a Spanish comedy. And before that, it appears to have derived from teaching your grandmother how to spin, or perhaps even better, teaching your granny to grope her goose. It had something to do with whether the goose was going to lay, but I don't care. It's such a great phrase. And you introduced me to all of that. So that's the kind of enrichment that you just can't get professionally these days. I hope you'll take this in the spirit it's meant, which is, I just love watching your face when I knew you were getting ready to say something funny, or because you just love to laugh. And I looked forward to every time talking to you, because I knew there would be hard stuff and interesting stuff, but I also knew there would be laughter. And that is a precious gift these days. So I hope you realize how much enjoyment you brought, as well as wisdom.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Wish we were doing this in person where we could see each other face to face, but we've done a lot of this Zoom calls. As a matter of fact, the very first time you and I met was over a Zoom call, and I was immediately impressed with two things about this man, about you. First was your generosity, your willingness to work with me and the team at MCHC at no cost. And the second part of that was the fierceness of your friendships. And I got to see that more than once. Your relationship and love for Steve, and the fact that Ben and I had a relationship and a friendship with Steve automatically began to bond us together. And as you introduced me to other people in your life, other friends in your life, I began to see that grow. And I think one of my fondest memories of our conversations over the past couple of years was a time that you actually described me as a friend, and that you felt that this had become more than just a collegial relationship, and it had turned into a friendship, and it really, really touched me. And I've always appreciated that moment, and I appreciate your friendship.
Tim, if I were there right now, I'd give you a big kiss on the forehead. And I would hope that you were wearing one of those t-shirts that we sent you. It was awful fun and sad and torturous all at the same time, finding those t-shirts for you to wear in the hospital. As I remember first meeting you, it was your wit and your wisdom that stood out to me. The way you could command a presence in a room and say something completely poignant and just look out at everybody while it soaks in. And I could see you, watching us observing us with your keen eye, a little intimidating, but also what a gift. The way that you can see people is a tremendous gift, I'm sure, both to you and to us. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I was thinking earlier as we were getting ready for this call, that if I had to describe Tim and to describe you in 3 words, it would be that generosity. He's generous. He's wise, and he's a friend. And I got to see all of those things many times. I think back to some of the conversations we had, you know, there's times when you receive compliments throughout your career and your life. And some of those compliments are from peers that you have great respect for. And then there's compliments from people that you have really great respect for. And the times when I had an idea and you confirmed it, that it was that I was on track, and knowing the wisdom from which those words were spoken, were just utterly affirming to me. And it was pretty awesome to be able to experience that.
I'm sorry that we never got to Kangaroo Island to explore that with you. That's a regret of mine.
But we're going to make it there. We're going to make it there. And with or without you.
Hi, Tim. You once told me you prefer to observe people. It's good to have a friend to do that with. You have many wonderful friends, and that says something about you. Whilst our paths only crossed recently, and not all may concur, I certainly appreciated your approach to the business dilemma. Your generosity in sharing the learnings from countless observations sets you apart. It's driven the betterment of the workplaces in which you work and where you planted the seeds of change. Clear, simple concepts which stick. The world needs more of these. Cosmopolitan in your outlook and constantly learning. Despite a busy schedule, you take time to stop and check in with us all. Offering valuable support in times of need. Sage guidance brings a fresh perspective. I say to you now, take comfort in your friends, the loved ones, the anchors of your life, and knowing your friends and family are better off for the time we have with you. A quiet calm in a crazy, wonderful world filled with connections. Your penchant for communicating all styles and perspectives in a room can trigger neglected pastimes. Draw an elephant, you said. Of course, mine is an African elephant, I said, and wondered why I hadn't drawn in a while. Well, I found time to draw and paint again and share observations in my own way. My team and I honor our contract and check in regularly. At this time, acceptance will be tested.
Hi, Tim. We met back in 1988, unexpectedly at the time, and while we were going through a lot of difficulty in our firm. I've always found you to be interested, curious, and a font of knowledge. A great mentor and coach, somebody who has patience, and always willing to share who you are and what you know with others. I've enjoyed working with you across Africa, across Europe, and doing many different things with different people and different cultures. A partners conference down in Istanbul was an amazing occasion when I went into it with a lot of trepidation and came out of it with everybody feeling very motivated by the experience we had there. Training new partners across Europe, training new partners across Africa. But always I've enjoyed your curiosity, your patience, and your ability to work with people on an individual basis, and at the same time, be professional and personal. I remember you coming with me in a plane and then a bus to a skiing holiday with my family, and how we all sat around the dinner table, and how you were curious to know about each one of my family and share with them some of your experiences and knowledge.
Hi, Tim. Tim, I was very fortunate that Philip always included me in his work, and through that, I was blessed to be able to meet you. We did share many, many happy times with meals, some glasses of wine, but a particular time for me with you was the day you spent with the EY spouses. We learned a lot from you and Steve. You helped many of the women. There was the odd man, but you helped many of the women understand the working environment a bit better. It was tough at that time. The firm was going through a lot of changes. It was tough for me because Philip was the buck stopped with Philip, but you always helped me. You were personable, warm, and caring. When I messaged you at times when I personally were having a few problems, you always took time to answer, had good advice. You were never critical, and I really, really appreciated that. So our friendship is a long and has always been a happy one. As Philip said, you've always been interested in our family. We've always heard about your family, and across the miles, we have managed to keep in contact. I think I consider myself very fortunate that you are a friend, and I will always think of you in that light.
Tim, hi there. Greetings from your favorite ENTJ. It's wonderful to have this opportunity to talk to you and to say hi from a long way away, but more importantly, to tell you what a wonderful influence you've had on my life. You'll remember the Achieving Extraordinary Performance training that you gave to the hapless management team at Analytical in 2011, 13 years ago. And I was fortunate to be on that, and it really gave me the opportunity to begin a friendship with you, and that lasts to this day. Even after the course finished, you live in Brisbane, my family lives in Brisbane, and the subsequent trips that I made there and the times that we caught up for lunch and dinner were wonderful. Your personality is just so magical. Your knowledge of your work is amazing, but your ability to connect with people, in particular to connect with me, is really something. Your compassion was absolutely evident that afternoon when you and Alex were in the Wesley, and Mum was in the palliative care ward, and you called up and said, "Are you here?" And I said, "Yes." You said, "Come to the lift." You both were at the lift, and you just came up to give me a hug, and that meant a lot to me. So empathy is one of your great gifts. So many others. I've been told I have 3 minutes and I've got 40 seconds left. Your friendship is just wonderful. I don't have the skills that your esteemed colleagues and people also on this list have, but as a student of yours, you taught me so much, and I'll be grateful for forever. So thank you.
Hi, Tim. I probably don't have as many words as Paul, because I haven't known you as long as Paul has, but you've certainly provided a huge amount of support for me as you've known Paul for a lot longer. and it's helped me in our relationship and helped me be able to sort of deal with Paul's various ups and downs and get a bit of more of an understanding of how to work with it, and probably make me a better person. We've always just have great delight when we see this sort of vision at the front door, a very recognisable sort of figure, unannounced, midweek, house is a mess. Paul's not home yet, but oh yeah, Pete, I think Tim might be coming for dinner tonight. And so it's always a delight to have you, Tim, and we love sort of hearing all the stories, and it puts us in a position where wherever we are, we can always sort of, that we're in a funny situation, we can always say, sit back and think for a moment and say, what would Tim do in this situation? And it sort of reframes our thinking completely. So it's a very useful thing to have, the Tim connection.
Yeah.
And your ability to unravel people, to size them up very quickly, sometimes a bit unnerving. I think actually what we would really like would be a personal message to all of us from you.
Saying how great we are.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's a bit of you've got a bit of an unfair advantage. You've got all the wisdom, and we're just sitting there going, oh, what are we saying? But you have great skill in understanding people, Tim.
We have blissful ignorance.
Yeah, blissful ignorance, exactly. Yeah. So we do love having you, Tim, and I'll always have a sort of special spot for having dinner with you at our house and visiting you guys in Melbourne and in Brisbane, sorry, and all the family. And yeah, I'll take you for a walk around our garden when the flowers are out again.
Very good. Very good. With a bottle of red.
With a bottle of red. and yes, who needs AI when you can ring up Tim? You've fabricated a holiday itinerary with people that he knows all around the world. It's wonderful.
That is incredible, isn't it? Oh, we think we've gone to Adelaide. Oh, we have to catch up on my friend who's head of the botanical gardens or something. No problem. Oh, would you like to meet the president of that country? No problem at all. Good on you.
Hi, Tim. It's with mixed feelings that I'm participating in this this video share, considering the circumstances, but I am glad that I get to do this. We've known each other now for 20 years. I joined Realigning 20 years ago, and I met you in that very first year. I was the legal counsel, and we had that wonderful conference in the bush at Kaingo, where I met you as one of the most interesting people that I've ever come across. Very direct in how you dealt with the business at hand, but also so jovial and kind and so pleasant in conversation, both inside and outside of that, or maybe not always inside of the business conversation. And there your preference was very much for direct language. That's maybe one of the reasons why I really enjoyed your company. At the conference in Brisbane, or the get-together in Brisbane, you hosted us at your house, which was also very kind. It's not something that always happens. As a professional advisor, you didn't have any issue to share with us your family. And there I also met the wonderful Alex, whom you know that I've always also took a liking to right off the bat. But pleasant times, and of course, the ultimate was the time in Vail. And there's a picture, you always took these pictures, but there's one picture in particular that I remember with myself, you and Mark, sitting on a bench with a bronze of, I think it's Albert Einstein, and you were leaning across towards Albert. You had your hand on Albert, and you weren't holding his hand. So your wicked sense of humor very much came to the fore there, but also such a pleasant experience and a pleasant memory.
When I think about the personal connection that you and I created maybe 11 or 12 years ago, and as I said to you the other day when we caught up, I'll never forget the time when I reached out to you when I was in the States, and we'd only really known each other for a couple of years, largely professionally, and I was going through a period where I was probably trying to work out who I was and what was important to me, and who I wanted to be, I think. And I'll never forget how quickly you kind of responded to my reaching out, and immediately went into a mode where it was all about me as a person, and the care and the generosity that you showed at that point in time has had a massive impact on me. It did at the time, has ever since. Had an impact on me and my family, and who I decided at that point in time that I wanted to be. And I think you really just helped me realign with my values and what was important. And ever since then, I've felt a really strong personal connection with you. It meant a lot to me, and still does now. I've needed a couple of readjustments and realignments since then, and you've always been on call whenever I've needed you. So as well as being a brilliant professional colleague for me, you've been a really, really important personal friend, and I'm grateful and will be grateful forever for what you did for me then, what you've done for me since then, and the impact that that's had on me and my wife and my kids. And I just want to thank you. As I said when we caught up the other day, I'm not sure that I can probably thank you enough, and I can't overstate how important you've been to me and in my life. Yeah, thanks, mate.
G'day, Tim. I wanted to just start by really saying how much you mean to me. And I think really at the very beginning of meeting each other, I was passed on, your name came up from a very close friend of mine, and I was, as you know, having some pretty serious family challenges at the time. And so although the introduction from my friend for Hamish, who we both love, he put my name, and it was through helping me through the business structure and things like that, and as your normal job. But what was a wonderful surprise to me is that the first day that I met you, and I remember on the phone you said, look, I don't know who you are, but if you're a friend of Hamish's, I'll talk to you and see if I can help in some way. And I think that sort of sums up a lot of who you are and why you're such a wonderful and amazing person, is that you just have a care for people, a care for the humanness in people. I don't know what it is, but for some reason you agreed to meet with me, and although we talk business, our friendship really was something that I didn't expect. I thought I'd meet a man who was going to help us with structuring our business and some great ideas and a great thinker, and you're all of those things. But I also think, so what happened was then we had that meeting in the office, and at the end of it, you said, well, look, I'm going to give you a hand and see if I can help. And it wasn't until really, I guess, you gave everything of yourself to someone who you really didn't know at the time. And we met on Kangaroo Island, and it was there, I think, the friendship and really understanding you and who you are, and what an amazing man you really are, to just give. You're a person who gives, not expecting anything back. And I think all around that is a huge element of care. I don't know anyone else on this planet that just so deeply cares about the humanness of people. And obviously you love minds and the way people think, but to me, I just felt like I'd met someone who had been a friend all my life. And although I haven't been in contact a lot with you lately, I've been looking on with the challenges that you're having now, and I just have so much love and care for you. And I hope that the fact that we don't always communicate, that you still know that you're there in my thoughts.
Well, Tim, I'm sitting on my farm in Prince Albert in South Africa in a place of beauty, and I think I've been asked to talk a little bit about you personally and what I love about you personally. And I find it very difficult to come to places of beauty and without feeling inspired about creating something. And of course, I'm always reminded back to our time under an oak tree in Johannesburg when we were facing a difficult work issue and also having to construct a partners conference. And we were sitting in an office in Johannesburg trying to get creative, and you suggested, hey, let's change the time and place. So we went and sat at the Johannesburg Country Club under a beautiful oak tree and came up with some amazing ideas that interlinked several objectives. We were brave, but it was fun. And I think it's a memory I carry with me, both in memory, but in inspiration as well. Any place that is insanely beautiful, I often think of the extraordinary things that this might help create. Or if I'm faced with a challenge or a problem, I'm often inspired to change the time and place. And that's been you've been an inspiration for that, as you know. The other thing is I've been asked to talk a little bit about you personally and a little about you professionally, and I've never found you being able to keep that balance very well, because often you'll phone me in the middle of the night, wherever we are in the world, and you'll never talk about a work situation you're in or someone you've met at work. You'll always start, Richard, I've got a dear colleague or a dear friend of mine, and you'll be trying to connect people and solve problems in creative ways. And not sure I was always able to help, but I'm touched that you would think of me, that I could have helped in some of those strange scenarios. But I think you've always made friends with people before you've regarded them as a work colleague, or you've made friends with people wherever you've worked, is probably a better description. So very touched by the opportunity to speak to you from this beautiful place to where you are, and it touches so many thanks and memories and hopes as well. The other, just thinking of how we've connected over the years, and I'm sure this is the same for many of your friends. You live in different places, so you see each other every now and then, and it feels like time hasn't passed in between. But I was thinking of an analogy of maybe it's like comets intersecting, or maybe more like strands of rope, strands in a rope that occasionally then intersect every now and then. And I feel like that's been the case for us, and over probably 25 years now. Some beautiful memories and times and happy times, and always think of your sense of humor that comes out first of everything. In any situation, you've often got a twinkle in the eye, love a story, love telling a story, listening to a story, and also remembering maybe past challenges and always asking deeply about it. So those are a few thoughts personally, and wishing you were here on the farm today, drinking something, and going around and exploring, looking at beautiful things.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
I'm recalling the first time I met you, which was at one of the Steel Leadership programs in the mid-1990s. And I recall a Jiris and Shon exercise that you had us do. And I think I've probably told you this story before, but it was a moment when I learned something, and a moment when I saw there were things I needed to learn, things I didn't know, and you opened my eyes to those. Anyway, I brought the Jiris and Shon exercise home and shared it with Catherine. I pinned it up on the wall and we both went through it, and I explained to her what it meant to me. And I think that the important part of that is that in that moment, not only did I start the journey, but I introduced Catherine to it, and Catherine came along with me. And I think that's a very powerful element of the journey that I started with you. I always found you to be a wonderfully engaging character. At the programs you ran, you brought a certain life and an energy. And I remember you played the music at the start of the program as an anchor to create the atmosphere and to bring everyone into the room. But a lot of the anchor and what brought people into the room was your energy. And throughout all of our relationship and the whole time I've known you, that energy that you bring to the dinner table when you have dinner with Catherine and I and George and Henry, the energy that you bring when people ask you to help them with their issues or give them some guidance, always the positive energy and always looking to encourage and help people to move forward, and giving them concepts with which to do that. I also enjoy having a glass of red wine with you. I enjoy having a glass of limoncello with you. And we've done that in many parts of the world, and it's been a wonderful journey.
And I'll just add to that, Tim, that I heard a lot about you before I actually met you. And that was a long time ago. But I think the influence that you've had on Julius's life, Julius as a person, he has been a great influence on our marriage and our parenting. So yeah, that's thanks to your common sense and wisdom and guidance through all these years. And I think that it's beautiful that we've developed such a wonderful friendship, apart from all the things that Julius has learnt from you and myself. And it was really, really special to get to know your family and some of your other friends. But a highlight for us was attending your 70th birthday and all the effort that people had put in to be there, and the special friendships that you've obviously got. And we'd like to rank ourselves up there amongst them as well. Yeah.
I want to take this moment to celebrate all that you are and to thank you most sincerely for the role that you played in helping me not just survive, but thrive one of the most difficult years that I've experienced, both personally and professionally. Your wisdom, your sense of humor, your depth of understanding of humanity really made me feel safe. I valued your advice, your criticism sometimes, and your profound wisdom in speaking to me and talking to me. I just want to say that I celebrate you today, and I'm filled with gratitude that we have the kind of relationship that we enjoy, even though we've never met. I'm hugely thankful to you. I will forever think about you when I read something about Greek gods, McKinsey, and your clean up their mess model. when I understand complexities of organizational design. You are the man, Uncle Tim, and today I celebrate you.
Really got to appreciate your sense of in your insights and your knowledge about pretty much any topic you can imagine. You've either studied it or you've worked in it, or you know people who work in that space. And yeah, it's just really opportunities to like learn by osmosis and just like soak in. Yeah, and I've got to say, I really credit you for me even taking the job with BHP, because as you will recall, I was working in foreign affairs and trade, and yeah, you gave some really, really good insights into the company. So it's really great. And yeah, and so as I was doing the video for BHP, which I'll share a link with you, I've got to say, it's really only because you were the one who helped me verify that the company was legitimate. So thank you very much for that, because I really do enjoy it. You know, working with you on the way in which you've taken forward institutional reforms with other companies and develop an evidence base. So yeah, it's a big thanks to you, and also the our time out sessions with everyone, where if I've had a particular problem that's been on my mind, having a dedicated group of people to talk with every fortnight, and just everyone just helps explore it, understand it, and walk away with a bit of a sense of how to take it forward. So yeah, it's been really good being a friend, even though I've never actually met you face to face.
I will never forget my first meeting with you, Tim. It was 2 hours that changed my life. It was a pivotal moment in my life. You provided absolute clarity and a whole new way of viewing the world. And in those 2 hours, you shared with me a perspective and a way of thinking that allowed me to see things in a totally different way, and that powered me forward for the rest of my time within that organization. And we still had interactions during that time. I saw that 2 hours as the beginning of a wonderful connection and a friendship over many years. So thank you. Your wisdom, your inspiration, and your advice, initially, I think through coaching conversations, but then I'd like to think through mentoring and friendship, have been more significant to me than any other scenario, any other mentor or coach that I've ever had. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. You were a lifesaver in so many ways. In terms of how you do this, I don't know what it is that drives you. I've never really truly understood, but you're always clear, you're always succinct, and you're always to the point. You always provide context, always with examples, and always with logic. You don't clutter the content. You're very clear and concise. And as I was thinking of what I wanted to say to you today, there was some words that came to me, and it was inspired by a saying by Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk, and he talks about a cloud never dies. And I think of the thousands of people, the millions of people that you would have impacted around the world. So many people. You truly do lift humanity through your inspiration, your guidance, your hope, giving hope, providing clarity, your knowledge, your wisdom, your kindness. You share that, and those individuals therefore change and do things differently, and they impact others. So that reach is just vast. For that, Tim, I remain eternally grateful, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful for our friendship. So go well, my special friend, and I know that you and the world love you dearly. So please take care, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, Tim. Wow, it's been a long time, and I remember when we first met, I think it was way back in 2002. I had just joined DRD as a non-executive director. You were the voice of calm. You were the great observer, the person who really was talking sense when there was an awful lot of things going on. I had sort of come in wet behind the ears, not really quite knowing what was going on. Your experience was invaluable to me. We got involved, I'm sure you remember, in one of the biggest boardroom battles, certainly I've ever had. And I think even by by any standards, it was a fairly vicious and hard-fought battle. You were in the middle of all that, and you really helped us through what was a very difficult time. And I remember distinctly, you and I were accused of having a Rasputin relationship, which I was quite surprised by, because I think that all your actions were very open. What you see is what you get with Tim Dalmau, and I really appreciated that. And so I think, from my point of view, it was a wonderful experience to have somebody I felt I could trust, who was, as I say, a keen observer of humans and their interactions, and understood what was going on. Tim, I really enjoyed our time together, and thank you so much for, as I say, helping me understand the dynamics of the room, understand people, and just generally great friendship. And I remember with great fondness your visit to us in the west coast of Scotland, where I'm currently sitting. It's late June, it's pouring with rain, the wind is howling. It's not typical Scottish weather, but I remember that you and Alex came and we had that fantastic barbecue together, and it was simply great fun. Thank you, Tim, and I'm wishing you all the best.
Hi, Tim. It's Paul, as you know. What I wanted to do is just remind you, take you back almost 20 years to the day that you first walked into my life. If you remember, I was in Hampton Park, and the lovely fellas that were there went on strike, and I got them back to work, and it was a great opportunity, because 1 week later you walked in, and I was bowled over by the way you could seamlessly just walk amongst the guys, interact with my gun-shy managers at the time, and also engage the senior management. And I thought the way you did that was wonderful. The way I described you is you could just run up and down that hierarchy like a mountain goat runs up and down seamlessly without missing a beat or tripping over himself. And that's you. You've always been able to be everywhere. One of the wonderful things that I learned from you is the ability to articulate a problem. And that's been always something that I admire deeply with you. And as over the years, as you know, I've phoned you up and just to get your wisdom flowing at me, to point me in the right direction, because that's sometimes what I need. At times I've needed not so much the techniques, but the direction. And as my mentor over the years, being able to give me that direction has meant so much to me. I'm actually, as I speak to you, there's a bunch of things I wish I had the chance to delve into that big, deep mind a little bit more. And that would be, if I have a regret about our relationship, it would be the fact that I didn't task you even more to explain even more to me, because that's one of the great talents you've got, is the ability to explain.
Tim, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was your level of professionalism that's definitely taken a role in, or plays a role now in my life professionally. You had done something with me, and well, two things. One, on the concept of sustainability. We were chatting about that one day, and you were very, very firm about the idea that sustainability is not a process, it's a goal. And I went, oh. And as I worked through that concept, I ended up using it many times in my discussions in class, and then with some clients. And every time it came back to you as being so crystal clear and communicative about that concept. So it's forever with me and clarifies my discussion on this topic, or that topic. And again, students benefited enormously from you. The other one was the conversation we had about the global scientist, and you alerted me to a couple of the negotiating challenges that you heard in your discussion with and among the three of us. And you gave me insights into that. And what it did was it allowed me to go back and mitigate those character traits in a productive way that led to a very positive, very useful outcome that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And then I've used that same mitigation process with others. And your insights are universally applicable in my work. So from a professional standpoint, thanks, man. You upticked my my skill level considerably and notably. It led to some, again, good deals being negotiated as a result of your insights. So I don't find too many people that I end up saying that about after I have a discussion with them. Might be a good discussion, but I don't get to use the benefit of that discussion over and over again and get the same effects. That got the wow chart, big check mark, man. That was really good. Thank you.
Now, Tim, we're going to talk about our professional relationship, which covers all of the things that we've done since we met up from that Engineers Australia's meeting in the early 2000s. I think it was early 2000s, heading up to when I was National President of Engineers Australia. And Tim, you then assisted me enormously in the work that I did with Guy Lane, setting up the Long Future Foundation, of which you joined the board and helped us get the structure right, get the governance systems in place, and your ability to understand what we were trying to do and how we needed to engage with people and get people on side to the seriousness of the sustainability crisis that we're facing. And your ability in understanding how people work in the business world, how we could talk to them about getting on board, how we could talk to them about the cultural change they needed to bring things about was amazing, Tim. You really helped us get the governance structure for that right. I know we had a few difficulties over the time. You disagreed with some of the things we were trying to do, but you always talked us through and got us through to a position where we made changes and got it working beautifully, Tim. Unfortunately, I think it was all a little too early because people weren't grasping the seriousness, and we didn't get the funding we needed. We got a little bit of funding, as you know, but we just didn't grasp what we needed to make things really happen in the Long Future Foundation. But we've worked on a couple of other areas, and your knowledge of management structures and how you can negotiate with people, how we can get through crises, and how we can work to sort of alleviate disagreements and get people on the same wavelength. It's just amazing, Tim. I've had the greatest respect for you in that field. And I thank you so much, Tim, for all that you've done for me personally in my ventures, my engineering ventures. I know you're not an engineer, so we had difficulties and some fun at times talking about engineering issues, but you were always there, Tim, and you always helped.
So when Moshkan asked me to think about this, my mind went straight away to our first meeting, Tim, and I think it was with the Lansmore Hill leadership programs for BHP, and I think it was the Global Leadership Program, might have been GLP 3, when we were all brought together from all over the BHP empire to sit at the feet of you and Phil Boas. And one of the first and abiding memories that I have of the impact that you've made on my life was in the very first night when we would have at the end of the check-ins, and you and Phil would sit with anybody who wanted to come along and sit as you reviewed the progress of the day and how it was landing for the various people. And I remember you going around all of the people who were there and asking how they were and what the impressions that you had of their progress during the day. And it's such a simple tool, but it struck me as something that really was different to the way BHP was operating at the time. And that was demonstrating in a practical way that you and Phil were modeling about care for other people. And it was like being hit by a truck, really, that here in the midst of this environment where there was no care, you and Phil were demonstrating it clearly and beautifully. And I think that was the beginning of the journey that drew me to want to be in your company and to have the privilege of working with you over all the other things that we did. And I'm reminded that the whole notion of demonstrating care was part of the remit that you had from the gods of BHP to try and instill some kind of leaderful care into the BHP organisation as it then was. And then I go to think about all the other amazing things that you've done that I've had the privilege of being a little bit of a part with, whether it's been in other parts of the steel industry, in the sugar industry in Australia, and I talked a little bit about the work we did at AIR before, and also the work that was done in South Africa in the gold industry in particular. And I'm just so thankful for the opportunity and privilege of being able to work with you and to just acquire so many of the skills that I now am able to use in my own life to help make a difference for people as well.
A couple of weeks ago, you called me, or actually it was a week ago, you and Jill called me. And when I talked to you, and after our conversation ended, I thought, you know, there's some things I wanted to say to you, which I hadn't during that phone call. So this is my opportunity to say a few things to you about what you've meant for me and my life. So let's talk about professional first. I think I met you in the late 90s. And at that time, the company that I was working for, you were consulting for them, and we were going through lots and lots of changes. And they were difficult changes. You were always there for me and the entire team. And then as we navigated through changes of ownership, changes of presidents, my role changed significantly in the organization. And you were along with me during that entire process. What was most important to me in that process, Tim, is that you spent time with me and the organization talking about core values and how important core values are. And then we talked about mission and we talked about vision. And then that worked into strategic planning and business plans and job goals. And all of that worked very, very, very well. And during that process, what you did so well is you helped us co-create all of our plans, let everybody get their opinion in and have and buy-in. Then in 2018, you actually called my wife, Tim, and you told her about a job in Australia, which eventually came to fruition. And I moved to Australia. But what was interesting about that is you actually called my wife first. And you talked to her about it and you asked her, what did she think? And I think her answer was, well, Tim, I'm packing my bags. So I guess at this point, I'll tell you, I forgive you for calling my wife and not me. But I think that was very smart on your part. Now to the personal part of what you've meant for me. I suspect I am a much, much better person, Tim, for having known you. And what I can tell you is some of the things that I learned from you, I have passed on to my children and I've passed on to my friends. About 2 weeks ago, my son called me and he asked for some advice about raising his child. And I won't get into any details, but I explained to him that I think he needed to change his approach to his child and move to a third point when he's having a conversation. So rather than looking at his son, that he goes third point, and you know what I'm talking about when I say that. And he did that, and it worked rather well for him. So what I will tell you, Tim, is not only have you helped me make a better person, but you're helping my son be a better person. And I suspect that will move on to others. So I want to thank you for that, Tim, and thank you for the friendship and all the support that you've given me and my wife and my family all those years. I am deeply, deeply indebted to you and the people that you brought in to help with that kind of training and the support that you've given. So, Tim, I am really, really honored to actually be in your orbit, to be amongst your friends and amongst your peers. And I will treasure that forever. Thanks, Tim.
Paul and Sal here, just having a chat about your amazing professional contribution into our lives, but also generally. People often ask me, so tell us about this guy, Tim. What does he do? I said, okay, what's Tim do? And I said, well, he's amazing, and he's very clever, and he normally gets the root of things very quickly. And I have to think about it a fair bit, and I say, well, the main thing Tim does, actually, is he makes you think and make decisions and implement and take action. Then the second main thing Tim does, and you'll laugh at this, is connect people. And I suppose it's a big thing, because actually on your own you can't achieve much, but within a group and within collaborations and so on, you can achieve pretty much anything. It's amazing. You think of humanity as a whole of separate people, not much. You think of people connected and doing things collaboratively and together and in partnerships and so on. And really, Tim, that's what you do. You deal with people and how they interact and getting them to work together successfully. It's amazing. But back to the beginning bit. So that, I think, is a big strength. But back to the first comment on your professional contribution. Whenever there's a problem, you listen to it, you say, okay, well, let's get off the anecdotal and let's get on to the sort of the detail of this, what's actually happening. Let's be a little more analytical. And you break a question down, you listen very carefully. I don't know how you do it, because you listen to anything from anyone, and then you make sense of it, and you help direct thinking, right thinking. In a way, you're teaching people how to think. So you make people think. You've always made me think about things, and you make me make decisions about things, and then you guide me towards right action. And I just find that highly effective. And the people I've met through you, who you assist, as well as your team, are just amazing. I mean, Jill's amazing, and Kathy, incredible. You may recall we had trouble with how to deal with somebody who really didn't want to be in our organisation. You sent Kathy along, and with a proper structured approach, we resolved the problem, but there was no sort of sacking or anything like that. There was no shoving somebody out. It was highly successful for that individual. They moved on to a different sort of career doing other things, and they've actually stayed in touch with us. I'm really grateful. So instead of it being a problem, you made it an opportunity. And I think, Tim, it's just the way you bring people together. You make them see and understand their problem, and you help them and direct them towards right action. It's the most amazing thing. And then you put people in touch with each other. I mean, if we needed somebody to take over the chair of the board on a board I was on, you introduced me to somebody just amazing. So, Tim, you're amazing.
Tim, from a professional standpoint, we haven't worked together, but we have lived together and communicated. And professionally, you've helped me more than you know. You're probably one of the smartest people in human behavior that I've ever known. And you've answered personal questions, and you've helped me in so many ways. So I can't imagine that your clients weren't blessed in every way to have you on their team.
you've always had great respect in your profession. Not that we've done a lot of work together, but from the projects you've run, the clients you've had, you've always had a lot of respect, and some of these have been very big projects, and people have wanted you back. So I think I can't judge it from a professional perspective, but from what I see in your career, you've done extremely. You've done yourself proud, and I congratulate you for that. I also thank you. You've actually mentored me in my profession. I'm a veterinary surgeon. My wife is a veterinary surgeon, but we've actually run our own business, and we've run a lot of international projects that require a lot of HR. And you've always been there to support me with respect to giving advice on HR and advice on change management. And I've always found that advice extremely good in change management from a HR perspective and a business management perspective. So Tim, I thank you for that mentorship, and I know my son David also, your godson, thanks you for his mentorship. And what I've learned from you also is the value in and how to go about connecting with other people. And so networking is something I've really learned how to do from you, and I thank you very much for that. It's been very important in my career, and you've helped me a lot. So Tim, I think you've got a lot of respect from the people around you in your profession, and I certainly respect you for what you've done to help me in my profession. So thank you very much.
Tim, you are professionally unique. I've never seen anybody who is sought from so many different diverse groups, individuals, places around the world. You have the ability to bring people together. You have the ability to get people who are feuding to work together. I don't know how the heck you do it, but you're just extraordinary. Love you, mate.
Tim, I see you as, I don't know the word guru, I suppose. That's something that anybody in any way of life at any level, and particularly those who would not normally take counsel from anyone, seek out Tim Dalmau. And what I imagine why is because they are going to get someone who actually sees so incisively, but also sees amazing patterns to behaviours and can put pieces together, and is going to present that and talk to them with such clarity and honesty and challenge that there's nobody else like you in the world for doing that. And just to have been able to touch that and see that has been such a learning experience for me. So that's wonderful. Thank you.
And the people you work with are so unique and so beautiful.
And how delightful it has been to actually get to meet so many of people who are so interesting because of the work that you've brought. You bring a community together. You are in very many ways that glue to that community of professionals and wonderful people.
And people with many divergent abilities and so on. But the thing that brings them all together is that they share similar values. Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
And Tim, I've already alluded a little bit to the amazing difference you've made to my life. But in your professional sense, your ability to think in a whole of systems way, to what I call be brave, take risks with people, to call things as you see them, to say what other people are often too afraid to say, but be able to do that in a skillful way that people can hear, to be able to see what's going on in a group and not only see, but then make an intervention in a way that still takes my breath away, when you do it. And I know through working with you that I've been so privileged to learn some of that from you, and at times I feel as if some of that has been able to be passed on to me, and I'm grateful for that. So, yeah, your compassion for others, your ability to go absolutely above and beyond and push yourself to the limits where I would think enough is enough, but you never do. You just whatever needs to be done, you go for it, and you push for that, and you, at your heart, I think you really want to make that difference in other people's lives, and you do make that difference so that people can see the world in a different way. Thank you.
So also, Tim, I have to pay you a special thanks for all of your expertise. You are so widely read, and you're especially skilled, I think, at bringing things to the table that many of us might not be familiar with, and also at following up on our conversations by letting us know what you were referring to. And also, you have this way of adding a certain amount of structure to somewhat rambling conversations, and that's a gift. That's a gift. But I think the major thing I would say to you is and it's the thing that to me separates you from the rest of us numbskulls, is something that my old college basketball coach used to say, and it's that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So for me, that was the thing that struck me at first, was you really care about us, and you care about the ideas and the concepts and the work that needs to be done by all of us worldwide. So I do appreciate that about you, how much you care about all of us to make us all feel individually special.
It's, I mean, honoring who you are professionally, and I think that's how we met. And but it was a doorway to just a deep friendship. But to really pause on who you are in the work that you do in the world, comes to mind is the concept of ikigai, Japanese concept of your competencies and the skills that you bring are also those that the world needs, and they're also those that you are able to get rewarded for, and they overlap with what you're passionate about. When I think of you professionally, I think that you are an incredible global, worldwide, wise consultant who's found your ikigai, and that your incredible capability to be with complexity. What you've taught me is to stay with the messiness. Stay with the messiness. Is it messy enough? Stay in the middle ground. Stay with the messiness. Is it messy enough? Until you figure things out. Your incredible ability to trust your own resourcefulness. Stay with the messiness. Work in the zone of deeply complex work, where the hardwiring of large organizational systems, these big dialogic living social networks, come together with real hardwired organization design, OD, structure, strategy, process. They come together with a soft wiring of the human spirit, networks of conversation, networks of relationships, the soft contracts, the boundaries between people, just the the human spirit and love that lives in organizational systems, deep understanding of how you always inquire. I remember when you phoned me about, what's it like? Tell me about the vignette of, deep Afrikaans masculine culture, working with mining people, and your ability to inquire deeply and know that it's how the soft wiring comes together with the hard wiring. It's such a gift, Tim, the observer that you are that sees both and interconnects them. If I think as well of the many, many training guides that you've written, just the wisdom that you put down on paper, your ability to write, and the sense maker that you are in the world of large systems, and the deeply embedded contexts which organizational lives live and flourish, and how you've supported so many leaders around the world in leading through extraordinary complex times, be it the global financial crisis, be it COVID.
Tim, what sets you apart professionally to me was the absolute joy that you take in your work. You really seem to just deeply enjoy interacting with people. You love and it's amazing for somebody who is got such an incredible academic computer for a brain. I mean, I know, I could tell, talking and listening to you, I could tell you're seeing pages in your mind and details. And it's this astounding library of facts and tactics and strategies, and it's just incredible. But you also love the little absurdities, and you love human foibles, and you simply like laughing with people and seeing them smile and seeing them think. And so often when I sought professional growth, in consulting and whatnot, I sort of do it in the way that you eat your liver and onions. It's good for you, and it's good for you, and it's got vitamins, and you need the nutrition. But you make it more like eating the dessert or having the glass of wine, and that is just such a delight. And that is the thing that I probably remember most about our interactions.
Thinking back to 2022, when you first came out to Ukiah, and it was at a very tumultuous time in our organization, and you had spent time with all of our leaders on the phone, and then came out and did a presentation to show us ourselves, basically, to say, here's what you all said to me. And after that presentation that you gave, you went around the room and asked everybody for their impressions, their reaction, emotional reaction to what you had just said back to us. And I printed out, I know Jill had typed them all up, and I printed it out. And it's 2 pages of reactions. And the word that keeps repeating is hopeful. And you were able to bring to light in our organization what had been hidden under the surface for many, many years. And you brought it to light, and it was like you freed it. And with it, so many people in the room became free to hope again. And wow, what a difference that has made to our organization, and thus to so many patients that we serve. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, Tim, the biggest blessing and the biggest difference that you made was to bring to light something that had been hidden, to expose the hippos in our organization, and in a way that just made people hear it and understand it and know it to be true for themselves. Thank you.
Yeah. That story highlights a conversation that I know you and I had a number of times about creating an environment in which people work where they enjoy themselves and they can be themselves and be their best selves. And we look at that, and that's a very precious thing, and particularly I think in healthcare, because happy people take better care of each other. And you helped a lot of people be happy again in their work. And I think that exercise and the exercise of you spending time with each of our leaders over a Zoom call for an hour, and I know some of them went for 2 or more, but to be able to take 24 hours of Zoom conversations and condense it in a way that painted a picture of our organization and us as individuals, that gift that you have of that being able to assess, to be able to, Kelly mentioned it earlier, to be able to watch a room and read that room and read not just the whole room, but the individuals within it, is something that I'm working on and trying to emulate, and doing it probably rather poorly. But that picture that you painted was accurate, and it was truthful, and it was what we needed to hear at that time. I remember the conversation I had with Ben Anderson when I first stepped into my position as CEO, and I said, I want you to find me an organizational psychologist. And I said, I don't know what we need. I don't know whether we need to just get in a room and scream and cry together, but I can now look back at it and tell you what we needed. And that was what you brought to the table.
Oh.
And appreciate it.
And you didn't just leave it at that, you know,
No.
it wasn't, okay,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys later. Go
Yeah.
heal thyself. You know, it was
Yeah.
your continued support
Oh.
over the last couple of years, consistent, the loyalty, the dedication to be on that phone. I think it was every Saturday morning for you and Friday late afternoon for us. And what a blessing. You're the man of many tools. You have a tool for everything. It's brilliant. I'm like, how does he remember all this stuff? Every problem I had, you had a tool to solve it, and was just brilliant, right? And a way to bring confidence and to continue giving people the tools that they need to do their jobs well. That connecting of people with resources. You know, it's the tools, it's the books, but it's also the people and the connections in different industries and different countries, and really gets us outside of our heads, outside of our boxes. And I really think that there'll be innovation and insights for years to come because of the seeds that you have planted.
Yeah. And not only be able to bring those tools to light, but what amazed me was the ability to recall the book that was written by a specific author, and that it was on page 87 of that book where the author spoke about the particular topic that we were about to discuss, that we hadn't planned on discussing that day. So I know you didn't go and find that reference in preparation for our meeting. It was just on the fly.
A brilliant mind and a beautiful
yes.
heart.
Absolutely. Well said.
That's you.
In 1988, we at Ernst & Young in South Africa was going through a really tough time. And it was clear to me that we needed to have a reset against a core set of values, something that was considered somewhat novel in those days. We searched far and wide looking for somebody to help us. And Tim, your name came up. And what a blessing that was. We met in early 1988 when I drove you down to the Drakensberg, and we ran 3 sessions with all our partners, which completely transformed our organization at that time. Your professionalism, your personal attachment to people was a powerful element to the change that took place in EY at that time. the way you shared your experiences and knowledge, the way you empowered us to think differently, the way you challenged us to be bold, to be ambitious, and to care about each other in a way that in a professional services firm, people didn't really think like that. We came out of that and we were a changed organization forever. And your legacy still lives in our firm to this day, in South Africa, across parts of Africa, and across parts of Central Europe, where you also assisted us to make similar changes in some of our firms that were not as functional as we would have liked them to be, and not as values-based as we would like them to be. Your ability to understand organizations and dynamics in organizations, and to cut through all the red tape and cut through all the noise that exists, was amazing. And we always came out of these sessions feeling stronger personally and feeling stronger together. I want to thank you for the work that you did for the organization, but more importantly, the way that you shaped me and helped me to deal with both opportunities and challenges that I faced over the many years.
What I really remember, Tim, about your professional aspect to your life was when you, as I mentioned earlier, when you came and we set up the day for the spouses. As the chief spouse, it was, as I said, a very difficult time, but you certainly helped us and guided us in a very special way. And I think I still learn and think about that day often. It wasn't something that was generally done. Spouses were not often included, and I see in the business world today, they're included even less. And when you're at home, you sometimes are made to feel a little bit left out, but between you and Philip, we never really felt that. And you guided Philip and me to be able to always include the spouses. And I remember that time very specially. And I think I have always said thank you, but I'd just like to say thank you again.
Tim, the thing that makes one of the things, not the only thing, that makes you special is the company that you have built, the people you employ, the skills that you impart to others. There's not a lot of people that have built a company that is, in my opinion anyway, a world leader in professional management. I remember when you did the Achieving Extraordinary Performance class for us, and we did the Myers-Briggs, and I think in discussion over dinner, you told me that you were an internationally accredited expert on Myers-Briggs. This is no mean feat, and it's a difficult thing to be able to do.
Tim, in terms of your professional contribution, I don't think you fully appreciate the extent to which your contribution assisted both in my career and also in terms of our company's performance. I'll never forget, after I was appointed and I didn't really know where to go as a very young and inexperienced person, and you wrote a few words on a business card as to what sort of questions to ask in a meeting in order to ensure that the people are not offensive, but that they would share information and help find solutions. And that's really your trademark. It was all about information sharing. And in fact, in one of the subsequent sessions that we had, when we were really battling to get our plant to perform well, I remember you came to our assistance in Johannesburg and you put us through 2 days of, I don't want to use the word brutal, but I can't really think of another word, interrogation as to what it is that we were doing. And we were, in fact, at the time, collecting mountains of data, but we hadn't figured out how to apply it effectively in the organization. And I remember on the second day, you sat back and you said, "Gentlemen, I hate to tell you this, but you don't have an information management system. And until you do, your information is going to be worthless." And we changed that. We then put a system in place that collated all of the data, and it helped us to really bring about a different kind of performance predictability in the business. And that ultimately, I believe, was also the main catalyst in the transaction that we subsequently did, which really took the company to a different level. And in my new reality, where I'm sitting on different fora and sharing what we do at DRD on a slightly wider platform, I got to actually share that the other day when a colleague or an associate tasked with dealing with efficiencies was thinking of employing a consultant. And we had a long conversation about this, and I did say to him, "Listen, I just want you to tell you about the one instance where we really had major success." And I told him the story of this particular instance, and I think the main differences were two things. One, you didn't arrive there with a preconceived idea or a generic model that you were going to superimpose, but you really interrogated the reality of your client and then offered solutions. And then the second thing that you did is, instead of adding a system and adding complexity to this existing system, you really narrowed it down to something very specific. And we used what we had and just applied it properly. Didn't add additional complexity and layers, etc., which has really become sort of the thing nowadays. And I'm thinking that they would want to follow that model. So massive contribution and very unique, and so easy to distinguish from what's on the market nowadays. Made a big difference. And I still page through Jim Collins' Good to Great every now and then, because that's the manual that you suggest that I consult as part of my toolkit going forward. So thank you so very much for that.
Tim, when I think about the professional relationship we've had over a long period of time, I've been lucky enough, and I feel lucky that we've been able to have that experience in a couple of different environments. You know, the Iluka perspective, and then the world of AKD. In some ways, very different types of organisations and environments, but nonetheless, the impact that you and the Dalmau group has had on both of those businesses is still, you know, felt strongly today. And for me, the unique thing about the experience that an organisation has with you and your colleagues is the personal impact that has on individuals within the business. Everybody who's worked in corporate environments for any period of time has come across or been exposed to consultants who come in with, you know, I guess, theories and practices that can be applied at an organisational level. But the experience with you is largely about how can the individuals within the business be more effective in their role, in their life, and have a bigger impact within the business that they work. And I've seen that firsthand at Iluka. I've seen it more recently here at AKD, and I've seen the significant impact that it's had on people that work for our business in their professional lives, in their personal lives, in the way they interact with each other, and ultimately from my point of view, the great thing is that the raft of tools and methods that you guys share really openly, people can choose which of those tools they feel most comfortable with. They can apply them in their own unique set of circumstances, and they can help them collaborate, build teams, lead, and engage with other people in the business more effectively, you know, forever. They're tools that you give people to take away and use in the way that they work best for them. And the generosity with which you share those methods and tools is what makes the interaction with Dalmau the relationship with Dalmau so impactful for organisations and people within them. Obviously I saw the benefits of it at Iluka, and that's the reason why I was so keen to get you and the guys involved here at AKD. And we're seeing the impacts at an individual level right throughout our business, and that feedback's consistent from the people that have the opportunity to be exposed. And then I've never come across anybody who delivers content the way that you do, Tim. It's a special skill that you've got. It's a skill to be able to make people feel comfortable, breathe low, and be fully engaged and have their brain switched on to take on board what it is that you've got to share. And I'll always remember when I was initially exposed to it way back when, the impact that your storytelling and ability to weave stories and photos and places and times and people into the journey is super cool, and something that has a big impact on people.
So Tim, as you know, you agreed to take on the challenges that I was going on in my business with that involves the family on Kangaroo Island. And I was in a complete place of nowhere to turn, and my mate Hamish, who put me onto you, sort of saw that I was at a pretty well low mentally myself, but also the business was really struggling. And so when we started that business collaboration, I can't really say anything else more that it changed my life, without overdoing it. I don't think I am, because the work that you started to do with me, not only personally of, who I am and, the things of looking at myself and my character and who I was, and then looking at the quite challenging, some of the people around us and the family dynamic, and not only your advice on, restructuring and re-looking at how we approach, a new way forward. I think it was more than just coming up with some great ideas and structures and putting all that in place. You, again, the care that you had for me and for my mum, and what you brought with that level of care, along with your incredible knowledge and your amazing brain, which is something that I'd never experienced before. And, to this day, I remember you sitting across the table. I remember your words, and they often come to me when I'm in a point of, what do I do here? And I go, well, what would Tim say? And how would he approach this? So all I can say there is, thank you, Tim. You've given me a long life lesson and tools, for me to move on, not only personally, but in my business.
I love the fact that Tim and I share a passion and a love for photography. And he actually, I recall him telling me that I should enter a competition called the Independent Photographer Worldwide competition. And Tim said, you should have a look at this. And anyway, so I did enter and ended up winning. So I can give Tim the credit for telling me to do that and believing in me. But yes, over the years, loved all his photos of all his trips and experiences around the world. So that's something that Tim and I share, which is very special.
I think what I found different about Tim professionally was quite profound, even, and probably the secret of Tim's impact and success. And I think it was just an entirely different approach to understanding people and problems and solutions. Always liked to use different frameworks, whether it was Enneagram or different constructs, to help to explain to people and get people to better understand the context they were in, the challenges, the people around them,
and importantly, the differences between people. And almost always it was relationship problems that Tim and his team were sent in to address or help with. And I think it was always Tim's patience, his calmness. Those situations always require a deep sense of calm, not panic when people are shouting or crying or any of the above. Always very calm in those situations and impactful, and letting emotions play out, and then bringing people back together in a calm, nurturing way. And I think that's always been Tim's success, and I think that's borne out by, again, the number of deep friendships that he's made from people that he's worked with. And again, the stories of Tim calling me in the middle of the night. No, not the middle of the night, but middle of the night his time probably, and talking about a dear esteemed colleague or friend rather than someone he works with. So making friends with people and establishing deep relationships as part of the work was always effective for Tim.
Marcus Aurelius said that our life is what our thoughts make it. And Marcus Aurelius is talking about all elements of our life. So it could be our relationship, our work, other parts of our life. And I think he's inviting us to consider the way we think about things. And in that context, you and Marcus Aurelius are working together, because for me, what you've been able to do is help people with the way they think about things so that they can improve their life. And the power of the models and the concepts and the conversations that you have with people to help them understand what's happening around them, how their behaviour is influencing what's happening around them, and more importantly, how their behaviour, if they change it and think about it more carefully, can improve the outcomes of what's happening around them. We live in a world where leadership is a overused catchphrase to try and explain some past success and attribute it in a hierarchical sense to somebody. But I think what you've done for me, and what I think you do for others, is you help them understand how they can lead. It doesn't matter where they are in the hierarchy. It doesn't matter where they are in terms of work, but how can they lead and lead themselves and others into a stronger and better position. And for me, that's would sum up, I think, what your professional work does for me and for others that I've seen you work with.
Yeah, and one of the things that Julius uses quite a lot with the boys is something that he has learnt over the years from you, and I'm going to get this wrong, but it's the perceptual positioning.
Perfect.
And it is true that the position that you're looking at any issue can affect your view, and quite often, what are the three?
First, second and third.
Yeah, but anyway, so one of them's helicopter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the third position.
Okay. So hopefully we can all look at things from the helicopter view rather than from just first position. Yeah. Anyway, Tim, thinking of you lots and a lot, and sending wonderful energy your way. If anyone can beat this, it's you. And we hope to hear how you're going, and we look forward to coming to see you again soon.
Yes, Tim. It is a tough time you're having at the moment. I felt very privileged to be able to spend those 4 days with you earlier this year, to join you on your journey to the hospital and to see what has to happen and what you're going through. I know we can't talk to you very often at the moment, but you should know that our thoughts and prayers are with you every day.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry and George and Amanda all send their best wishes as well. I hope to see you soon.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
When I think about you and your professional career, I think of two things. Tim knows everyone and Tim knows everything. Those two things have been proven correct time and time again. The weight of information in your mind, it's like I said, it's learning by osmosis. It's absorbing all the knowledge that you've gained over the years and all the work that you've experienced and also all the people you know. I've never known anyone to have that much information at the tip of their fingertips. And you know, the way that you help the timeout group to put some structure in how we think about problem solving, or the way in which people are motivated for different reasons. Yeah, just gotta say you're a master at information, and also importantly helping connect people to each other, but also helping us make sense of the information that we we're trying to understand. And so yeah, that's what I think. Tim knows everything and Tim knows everyone. And I dare say, if you don't know someone, odds are you know someone who knows that person. So when most people have 7 degrees of separation, I'd say you have maybe 1 at best. You will know someone, or you know someone who knows someone.
The first time we ever really got working was in a deep level, was when you, Steve Swybeck, and myself went off in a lockdown in the Yarra Valley. It was an unusual experience, setting up the negotiations with all of the site delegates. And I remember being there, Bruce Kelly, if you remember Bruce coming in and doing an introduction, and he gave it a really lovely broad introduction there. It sounded a bit like John Wayne. I was looking for his trigger finger getting itchy. And then you stepped in and you started to chat with us. And I could feel the energy in the room just relax because of your way, because of your manner. The way you engaged us, the way you made us laugh. I particularly remember you getting Robin Williams up and him doing his Scottish routine, taking the mickey out of the Scottish accent on the golf. And of course that got everybody having a good laugh at me, and I had a good laugh at myself as well. It was a wonderful time and I learned so much. I mean, that was the thing. It was seeing the magic in action. And I had a privilege of seeing that magic in action for a whole week with 2 wonderful men. Years later, it was therefore a thrill and a delight, and I feel like the biggest compliment you could have given me when I found myself being invited to become part of the Dalmau network. And I've also thoroughly enjoyed the potpourri of interesting characters that you sent my way to coach. I've loved that. And I've loved just catching up with you, getting your views on things. Even during COVID, our conversations during that time, I found ultimately stimulating. I'd like to thank you also for introducing me to some real gems in my personal education. The first of all, introducing me to Steve, and then Michael Grinder. And then the education you gave me by introducing me to the work of Ralph Stacey, which was very important to me. I'm still reading his stuff now. So I'd like to thank you for all of that. I'd love to thank you in person, obviously, but as I don't have that opportunity, I'd love to thank you for everything you've given me, from the bottom of my heart to the top of my head. It's been a wonderful ride, a wonderful experience, and I wish only in some way to make the impact on others that you've made on me.
Tim, one of the things I've always noticed about you is your incredible curiosity and your incredible interest in other people. And I've always thought that was remarkable. And also your passion for people. One of the things that you told me one time is that everybody is doing the very, very best they can. And so when you're communicating with people, you need to think about where they're at in their point in their life and why they may be acting the way they do. I've told many, many people about that. And I think that has helped others as it's helped me. So thanks for that, Tim.
Tim, it's hard to put it in one sentence, but you have had an amazing impact on my life in so many layers. I love you a lot, man. Yeah, that's just looking forward to more. Love you a lot.
You have been amazing support through a lot of things that I've been venturing with and personally in my life. An absolutely amazing person, Tim, an incredibly stable, sincere, genuine human being. That's what you are, Tim. And you've been wonderful to me. Thank you.
And I think that's really the thing that embodies who you are, is a person who makes a difference for other people through the lens of care and genuine concern for them being fellow citizens of the human race. So again, I am so thankful to you for all of the things that you've helped me acquire, and for the privilege of being able to do that with such a great guy. Thanks, Tim.
We love you.
We love you. We think you're wonderful. You've been like a great uncle, a father or brother to me for 50 years, and a really good friend. We love you dearly, and you're in our thoughts always.
Tim, on the professional side, I do believe that you're probably the best of the best. You're one of the smartest individuals that I've ever met. And I learn from you every time we got together on Saturday nights to have our group talk. It was very important to me. And I hope we can get back to it because you mean a lot to me, buddy. Thank you.
Tim, you've been a very dedicated and loyal friend, and we, both my wife and I, and our children, David and Katrina, thank you for that. We're looking forward to having you back on deck, having the old Tim back, and so that you and I can enjoy some whiskey together. So looking forward to seeing you well, my friend.
Tim, I love you. You've changed my life in many positive ways, and my gratitude is brimming. Thank you.
Tim Dalmau, thank you, you wonderful, beautiful, incredible human being. I love you too.
So Tim, let me just say one more thing to you. I learned a long time ago that hope is not a strategy. And I know you're a very strategic thinker. So I want to tell you something that I learned a few months ago when I was hospitalized. And one of my adult children came in to talk to me. And she said, I can see that you have a lot of hope now, but you also need to fight. And you have to fight, she told me, for her and for those around you. And so I really was struck by that. So I've been kind of functioning on these two platforms of hope on the one side and fighting every step of the way to just keep going. We're all looking forward to you doing what you do because you do it well. We love you, man. Ciao.
My dearest Tim, I'm wrapping hope, positivity, kindness, and all my strength, love, and resilience around you. I love you.
Tim, I wanted to thank you for your guidance personally and professionally. Helped me through a difficult year in a pretty large transition. And I'll never forget your kindness, your intuitiveness, and your kindness. Thank you.
I send you a West Australian sunset and gratitude our paths crossed. Hope is in my heart for you, to cherish every minute. Thank you, Tim, for all the kind guidance you've provided and your support. I appreciate that and wish you all the best. Take care, my friend.
Tim, thank you for enriching my life, for enriching the life of my family, and for those of many, many of my partners across Ernst & Young over many years. Thank you for your friendship, your professional advice, and your wise counsel, given calmly, clearly, and confidently.
Tim, I would just like to say thank you for your care, your love, your interest, and the many times that we shared together.
You don't know how much you changed my life and how much your friendship means to me. I do know that you have strength, you have will, and you have fight. I know that you will use all of those in this current fight that you have. I love you, Tim.
I'm so glad that I know you. My life is better because of you. I know what your situation is and why we're having this video. You know that I'm a praying man, and I'm praying for you, and I bless you, and I wish you comfort, and your legacy will live on forever in my heart and also in our business. So thank you so very much, and my best wishes and blessing will go with you.
Tim, I'll be forever grateful for the impact that you've had on me personally and my family by extension, my kids, and your generosity and your personal care for me is something that I'll never forget.
So Tim, we ponder a lot about what life's for and what it's worth, and I know you're going through some challenges at the moment, physical ones in your body, not doing the right thing. But I hope that you can reflect on the amazing brain and mind you've got, and in some ways the life and the teachings that you've taught everyone, I'm sure, are present and keeps them present in your mind, and hopefully gives you the strength to know that mentally you can get through this.
Tim, I want to tell you that in a world of beautiful places and beautiful people and beautiful things, you've always inspired me to be the best I can be and to help bring out the best in others, and always love you for that.
Tim, we know that you're going through a difficult time at the moment, and Catherine and I and Henry and George and Amanda send you all our love and our best wishes, and we hope to see you soon with a big smile on your face.
Yes, we love you, Tim, and if anyone's got this, it's you. So we look forward to catching up with you very soon at the next available opportunity, and by then hoping you've beat this this current illness. Lots of love.
I was very open with you because you built an environment of safety and trust so naturally and so easily. One of my favorite memories is the Greek god name that you gave me. You called me Artemis, and you said it was because of purity and clarity of thought and the search for the truth. I write it in the front of all of the books that I use because I wanted to be a reminder to me about my purpose, something that you helped me to remember. You are a liberator of the best in people, Tim.
Hola, team. Thanks you so much for the way that you've been able to connect us, to connect me with wonderful people. It's been a great time with you all my life, all the years that we've been together. The capacity, the ability to connect wonderful people is unique, man. So with this unique way to live. Big hugs from me, from Chile. All the best, amigo. I love you so much.
Tim, go well, my special friend. The world and I love you dearly. Thank you.
The message I want to give you is that I love you. You've been the most inspirational effect in my life. The impact that you've made on my mind and the love that you've shown back and your guidance, your kindness, and the trust that you've shown me has been phenomenal. I hope to live up to everything you've taught me and use you as an example to all.
Tim, I can't tell you how honored I am to have been able to spend time with you and to learn from you. You not only changed me, but then helped me change our team and our entire organization for the better. But I think most of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your friendship. It's something that I will cherish forever. Thank you.
You are a beautiful person, and I'm so thankful to have you in our lives and to be such an important piece of it. Thank you.
Tim, thank you so much for making me wiser and making me laugh.
Tim, you have been an absolute joy in my life professionally and learning from the many things that you taught. Thank you.
Hope Tim's feeling well.
Hope Tim's feeling well. Yeah, don't we all? Hey, hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim. I hope you're feeling well.
Yeah, good on you, Pete. You remember that Tim's come here lots of times?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that good fun always to have him coming, turning up?
Yeah.
Oh, good, Pete. You remember going to see Tim at his place?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing swimming pool. Alex and the kids.
Yeah.
Pete, what do you remember about Tim?
What do you remember about Tim? You tell Moshkan.
Coming here outside.
What for?
For watching out.
Yeah. And do what?
Chat.
And showing photos?
And photos.
On the laptop?
On laptop.
What else? Tell Tim some message. Say hi, Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Pete, use your own words.
And Tim, finally, thank you for your love and your friendship and all that you have invested in me, for the good times, the rocky times, and know that you will always be in my heart.